Introduction. Why was I so effing tired? My head was spinning, feeling guilty for leaving my impromptu 5 p.m. meeting early and equally guilt-ridden for being late to pick up my kids. I felt my heart pounding as I raced down 67th Avenue in Glendale, Arizona. My thoughts toggled back and forth, thinking about my hasty departure from the office, the imagined annoyance of my coworkers, and envisioning my kids waiting for me at the karate studio. I imagined the cranky front desk attendant at the studio chastising me for my tardiness and judging me for my poor mothering skills. I was so preoccupied with my self-doubt, I didn't see the other car at the intersection until it was too late. Time stopped as the sound of metal hitting metal filled the air. My car spun out of control, 3 times to be exact, before colliding with the concrete divider. Another overwhelming sound of crushing metal. Every airbag in the car released at once. As soon as I came to, I could see that my arms were bloody from the shattered glass of the windshield. I was okay, but I knew the accident was my fault, and it was the perfect metaphor for my life at the time. I felt like I was out of control. Scratch that, I knew I was. At the time of my accident, 10 years ago now, I had been practically running on empty, raising 2 kids and studying for my medical boards while trying to build a thriving practice as an immunologist. I was overtired, overworked, and overextended. It wasn't just about time management. It was deeper than that. My body was telling me that something was wrong with me. I was gaining weight inexplicably. I was cranky all the time. My energy was non-existent. I couldn't figure out what was wrong and felt too tired to find out. And it didn't help that everyone around me told me what I was feeling was just the fact of being a busy working mom. Perhaps by divine intervention, the car accident was the wake-up call I needed to make big changes in my life. Before the accident, I felt alone in my inability to manage all of my personal and professional demands. I assumed my fatigue was just a normal and inevitable part of life. But I now know that I was wrong. And, unfortunately, I know I was not the only one who felt this way. Far too many women suffer from an energy crisis. Just as I did, I have had patients who worried about burning the candle at both ends and felt frazzled, overstressed, and exhausted because of it, too many to count. Maybe it's why you picked up this book. It's far too common for us to feel overstretched and overwhelmed. How can we not in this day and age? We have busy lives, juggling work with family life, all the while sidestepping nonstop distractions every day. But we aren't superhuman, and there are points in which we put too much stress on our bodies that can cause it to buckle. The body can't seem to juggle anymore, and it stops working as it should. Take my 34-year-old patient Katie, who had a busy copywriting business and 2 young children. Even though she worked from home, she was more stressed than ever and came to me because she was having major sleep issues that were interfering with both her work and her home life. She was so tired that she was losing focus on work, and it was worrying her since her family was dependent on her paycheck. She also was experiencing similar symptoms that I had: fatigue, sleep disruption, cravings for both sweet and salty foods, excessive need for stimulants such as caffeine, vague but persistent digestive problems. Katie's story is sadly common these days. My story is, too. Maybe you see yourself in our stories. And maybe, like us, you've been told by friends, family, and possibly even doctors that there's nothing to be done about it. If so, you're not alone, and this book is designed with just you in mind. I'm offering you a solution that can help you regain your lost energy and reclaim your life. I've developed this plan to transform my own life, and it's helped thousands of my patients. I know it can do the same for you. A bit about me: I'm a double board certified doctor of medicine who studied at Cornell, Albert Einstein, Harvard, and Columbia. But, perhaps more important, I'm a mom of 2 who also faced a dark place where I felt all kinds of tired. Following my accident, I worked tirelessly in creating a program that works with the woman's body to tamp down stress and boost energy. And once I created a plan that worked, and experienced a massive change in my own health, I knew I needed to share it with my patients. A part of my practice is now dedicated to helping women overcome exhaustion, and I've seen this plan work for thousands of patients. It changed my life. I believe it can change yours, too. I never expected for this to be my life's mission. Before my energy crisis, long before I became a doctor, or a mother, or a women's health advocate, I had always been energetic. In fact, I was a ball of energy growing up in the sleepy town of Nashik, in western India, about 3 hours east of Mumbai. We didn't have a car or a TV, but we lived in a town that took care of its own, and everyone in my apartment building knew and treated each other like one big, loud, hands in the air, dramatic but happy family. When I was 5, my parents got the opportunity to come to America, eventually settling in a sleepy, leafy suburb in Westchester, New York. The move was hard for me. Not only was there culture shock and a big learning curve as I tried to pick up the English language, but I didn't feel like I belonged. Whether it was my hand-me-down wardrobe that didn't win over my fashion-forward classmates or the fact that I walked to school instead of getting a ride like every other kid, I felt alone. Suddenly, I was the only brown person in my entire class, and to say I did not fit in was an understatement. I was teased about my clothes and my heritage. It didn't help that I was a vegetarian, either. Back in the 80 seconds, that was like having two heads. I will never forget the day when my veggie lunch was mysteriously replaced with a hamburger. In high school, the challenges became more serious. My loved ones were getting sick. My grandmother was dealing with diabetes and all the complications that come with it. My grandfather had it, too, and passed away young at the age of 60. My dad and all 4 of his brothers had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes by the time they were in their early 30s. How could that be? I remember thinking, they all seemed so healthy and fit. Once, at a family dinner, my uncle the cardiologist warned us. As he passed the roadie, diabetes runs rampant in families. And unfortunately our family's one of them. You all are going to get it. If we leave you nothing else, this is our gift. He laughed. He added, as if to underscore the severity of the illness, nobody in our family really has lived past 60. This comment has always stuck with me, and it was perhaps the moment when I first started to wonder if our genes really were our destiny, or if we perhaps had more control over our health than we realized. I set about learning as much as I could about the disease. I would take my grandmother to the doctor and be her translator, taking the opportunity to ask a lot of questions. I was especially interested in what role genetics versus diet and lifestyle played in our health. As I learned about diabetes and how food could be a major factor in fending off its most serious symptoms, I enlisted my dad as a guinea pig to test out some of the recommended diets. Together, we went on a series of crazy diets: high-fat, low-carb, vegan, paleo, Ayurvedic, to name just a few. It wasn't easy, for him, and many people like him. It is really hard to break lifelong habits. It was difficult for him to give up foods he grew up on as well as his go-to-favorite comfort foods, especially his morning kakra. But he humored me and stuck with it. Eventually we found a diet plan that worked. In 2 years, he went from using 50 units of insulin to less than 20, and he lost about 30 pounds. This diet formed the foundation of the plan you hold in your hands today. And don't worry, you may think you can never have the foods you love, but you can, sometimes. You'll see soon. This got me thinking that there was a lot of interplay between the human body, food, genetics, and lifestyle changes. I was also intrigued by metabolism. How could some people eat what they wanted and remain thin while others couldn't lose weight no matter how little they ate? Inspired by my experience with my father's diet and eager to answer these questions, I applied to Cornell University's Division of Nutritional Sciences, arguably the best program of its kind. In the summers, I did research at Harvard Medical School and learned how the immune system works and how it's affected by pollutants in the modern environment. The ambitious Californian who was the kindest person I have ever met. During medical school, my passion for disease prevention continued. I took a full year to devote my time principally to research in heart disease, which helped sharpen my skills in critically analyzing studies for the rest of my career. Following medical school, I chose Harvard Medical School's Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston for my residency. I was a little burned out from medical school, and having just gotten married, my start there was brutal. The hours were worse than med school, and I found it incredibly difficult to get through the long workdays. It didn't help that Boston got dark so early so many months out of the year. I would go into work before 6 a.m. and it would be pitch black, and then I would get out of work in the evening and, guess what? It'd be pitch black. Get me out of here, I thought. I learned the hard way how our circadian rhythm could alter our mood and energy during Boston's dark winters. When people talk about seasonal affective disorder, I know what they mean. I remember feeling no excitement or passion through those Boston winters and then, just like a light switch, I would get a surge of energy when spring arrived. Luckily, I was accepted into the Columbia Immunology program 2 years later, and we moved to New York. I was pregnant with my second child and studying immunology again. This was a formative experience for me. Both my clinical work in allergy and my science work in immunology set the stage for the book you're reading. After many years of school and training, I was double board certified in both internal medicine and allergy immunology. I started my practice, thrilled to put this education to use. But I quickly sensed that my special training and expertise were feeling almost wasted on the Western model of medicine and its revolving door of patients. Don't get me wrong, I loved interacting with patients, but I wanted to do more than just treat their problems. I wanted to help to prevent them, but there was not enough time. I felt burned out but also trapped as I juggled my medical practice with motherhood. We had 2 sweet children by this time, and my husband had his own stresses with his medical practice. I was only 32, but I was running myself ragged. Then I had the car accident. I knew something was wrong with me. But what, exactly? Why was I so effing tired all the time? Finding an answer to the energy crisis, these vague but undeniable symptoms were obvious to me. But their cause was elusive to all my doctors. I kept asking my friends, the brightest colleagues from my training at Harvard and Columbia, to help me figure out why I was feeling this way. They looked at me blankly and told me I was fine. They assured me that fatigue was normal for a new mother and for someone starting a new practice, and said, "It's not uncommon." Worst of all, they told me that aging could be to blame and that my hormones may not be as active as they used to be. What? At 32, it was the feeling of dread when I read a women's magazine and they refer to anyone over 25 as older. I refused to believe it. I also knew I was hardly alone in feeling this way. So many of my patients, friends, and colleagues complained of the same nagging fatigue, fogginess, and moodiness, and their sleep was, well, what sleep? But their symptoms have been long marginalized by their doctors. Just like me, their unexplained symptoms were dismissed and attributed to being a new mom or overworked or as a byproduct of aging. I felt like a broken record, constantly telling people about how tired I was. I was just tired of complaining about it. The more I dug into the issue of fatigue in women, the more I became convinced that we have a major energy crisis on our hands. In a recent study, 15% of women reported that they often felt very tired or exhausted, compared to 10% of men. One in women between the ages of 18 and 44 were almost twice as likely as men to often feel very tired or exhausted. Point 2. What's worse, throughout medical history, women have been neglected by research. Believe it or not, the NIH didn't mandate that women be included in research studies until 1994. In other words, women have suffered from an energy crisis and hormone imbalances in general for ages with no help. Their complaints always dismissed as symptoms of getting older, but there was nothing in the literature to support that evaluation and no definitive treatment. There is still too little scientific literature addressing this issue. I could go on about the injustices here, but that is for another book entirely. My point is that I was physically tired, and I was also tired that women were getting short shrift by conventional medicine and research. By the way, as frustrating as it is that women have been marginalized by the healthcare system, what's worse is that minority groups are overlooked even more. And it's not necessarily about income disparity. In a 2017 study, Tina Sachs, an assistant professor of social welfare at UC Berkeley, conducted dozens of in-depth interviews and concluded that infant mortality rates for black women with a college degree are higher than those for white women with just a high school education. 3. Black women's symptoms are often discounted by their doctors, even for celebrity patients like Serena Williams, who couldn't get a medical professional to take her shortness of breath seriously after an emergency C-section. As detailed in a 2018 feature in Vogue 4, she eventually had life-saving surgery. But if someone had taken her concerns and symptoms to heart, they may have caught her pulmonary embolism in time before having to perform the drastic procedure she needed. 5. It all comes down to hormones, inflammation, and the gut. I felt a duty to figure out why I was so effing tired. Not just for myself, but for so many other women who were overlooked by the healthcare system. As I continued to do research, all signs pointed to a hormone imbalance. In fact, if you Google some of these symptoms, you may come across a condition called adrenal fatigue, or AF. Early in my medical training, I had studied the adrenal glands and their function. Adrenaline, aldosterone, and cortisol production, often known as the stress hormones. But no one teaches about adrenal fatigue in medical school. That's because adrenal fatigue isn't recognized as an established health diagnosis. But something about the concept intrigued me. Proponents of AF claim it is caused by chronic stress. Your adrenal glands are unable to keep pace with the demands of constant fight or flight alerts and thus are unable to keep pace producing the hormones needed to keep you going. It was a catch-all term that sounded really good on paper. But even though adrenal fatigue wasn't in the medical literature, I knew something was off with my hormones. Why else would I be tired all the time? So I continued to do research. What I found out made absolute sense. Adrenal fatigue did not exist, but these symptoms did. However, it was different than so-called adrenal fatigue. It was a full-on hormonal imbalance. As I upped the ante on my research on nutrition, the gut, and hormonal imbalances, I began to piece together a diet plan that could combat this fatigue. Once again, I became my own guinea pig and started blogging about my findings. I put my own theories to the test and developed dietary strategies to try to boost my energy. I gave myself a complete overhaul, a mental, a hormonal, and an inflammatory reset. It was certainly not without false starts, like the time I tried the lemon juice Cayenne cleanse and fell face first on the New York City pavement. But eventually I struck gold. I found the right mix that created a hormonal balance and resulted in energy that I hadn't had in years. Naturally, and people noticed. At first, my family was shocked and appalled when I started turning down traditional favorite foods like roti and treats like kaju katli. My aunts were speechless, quite possibly for the first time ever. What kind of life is it without sweets and roti? Mom would ask, shaking her head. They couldn't understand why I would ever turn down these standbys, and they teased me for living on just grass. But soon they all marveled at how much energy and strength I had, how I could run, go into my practice, ride bikes with my kids, and then work on my book or blog without ever tiring. And they stopped pushing the sweets and carbs on me. Then, a few years ago, I went on a trip with some physician friends to Machu Picchu. I realized for the first time how my renewed energy levels really made a huge difference during the daily hikes. While everyone else would get tired and had to stop, I could keep on going, like the Energizer Bunny. I had energy like I hadn't had in years. My friends asked how the heck I wasn't huffing and puffing after our treks. Even our experienced Peruvian tour guide came up to me and asked, "Don't you feel tired?" In all my years of being a guide, I swear I haven't seen anyone do this hike so effortlessly. Male or female? Wait, really? I thought, I am not even breaking a sweat. I realized I was onto something, and I feel the need as a doctor to share it with you. The energy trifecta. By now I'm sure you're wondering, what was this plan that made me feel so good? The reset I developed, what I like to call the WTF plan, as in why the EFF was I so tired, is based on a few underlying factors that I will explain in more detail throughout this book. But here's the short version. Our hormones, immune system, and gut are closely linked, and it's very common for them to tip out of balance. The key to boosting your energy is bringing these three systems back into balance. Hormones. We have many different hormones in our body that act as the body's signal system and regulate most of its basic functions. You may be familiar with some common hormones, like estrogen and cortisol, but there are many more that perform a beautiful and complicated role in the body, keeping things running smoothly. Think of the hormone system as a complex and interconnected hormonal highway, much like a big city's busy highway system. These hormones all respond to hormonal signals from the brain and are all constantly moving and changing, depending on what's happening with your other hormonal glands. Your hypothalamus is connected to your pituitary glands, which impact your thyroid, which in turn is connected to your adrenals and your ovaries or testes, and they all connect back to one another in the brain. Everything is connected. If there is an accident near exit 63 on the Jersey Turnpike, traffic will back up for miles, with slowdowns lasting for hours. It's the same thing with our body. The immune system. The immune system is our body's defense against invaders like viruses and disease. When you fight the flu or the common cold, your immune system is at work. Like brave infantry, the cells of your immune system are triggered to fight any virus or bacteria messing with your system. After that inflammation response, the soldiers are supposed to go back to base and turn off the alarm. But in the modern world, for a myriad of reasons, they never get the signal that the emergency is over, or the threat keeps coming back in the form of foreign foods or toxins. This leads to what is called negative chronic inflammation. This inflammation response sends signals to the brain and the rest of the body that there is a threat. Gut health. Gut health refers to the balance of microorganisms in the digestive tract. New research shows that our gut health plays a vital role in our overall health, affecting everything from our cravings to our moods to, of course, our energy levels. Hormones and the gut have a symbiotic relationship. Hormones affect the gut, and, in turn, bacteria in the gut modulate and produce hormones. Gut bacteria not only create hormones, but they also help balance or bind excess hormones. When your digestive system is off, it can affect nutrient absorption, which causes malnourishment and can lead to a number of chronic problems and symptoms, including acid reflux, indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, and more. These three systems work so closely together and are so key to our health that I call them the energy trifecta. If one is out of balance, it creates an overall imbalance that steals the energy you need to get through your busy day. And when you fix one system, the other two will improve. Once things are in balance, your energy levels will shoot up. When you think about it, this makes sense. If your body is working so hard to right itself because one of these systems are unbalanced, it has little energy to do anything else. You feel drained, and not only are you feeling really tired, but you don't have enough resources to do other tasks to keep the body working at full capacity. When this happens at a sustained pace, when you are chronically stressed and tired, you can become susceptible to allergies and disease. This is the connection between inflammation, disease, and energy. We need to reset these systems, stabilize our hormones, and balance the energy trifecta to ward off infections and disease. The trick to this is that most common hormonal imbalances are hard to diagnose, but they are easy to fix with lifestyle and dietary changes. The key is optimizing this energy trifecta. To do this, I combined a food plan that targets inflammation and hormonal imbalance with a type of intermittent fasting that improves gut health and strengthens the immune system. Along with overhauling my own diet, I prioritize sleep, changed my exercise routine, and practiced managing stress levels. And in the last several years, the emerging research on intermittent fasting, circadian rhythms, and gut health has backed my own experience with science. I knew that if my plan worked for me, it could work for others. I thought about my patients who complained about the same symptoms I had struggled with. Why can't I seem to get enough sleep? Or I have absolutely no energy. They were tired, moody, and their sleep, well, was a mess. I started treating my patients with the WTF plan. One by one, they experienced renewed vitality they thought they had lost forever. Once I started using this integrative approach in my clinical practice, I knew that I needed to share it more widely. So I developed a wellness practice offering online coaching. I have since coached thousands of patients through my courses, virtual consults, and in-person exams. Through trial and error and lots of positive case studies, I have learned how to apply the new science to the busy schedules of modern women. The results of this program have been nothing less than astonishing. I've seen women who were anxious, tired, and worn out become renewed, empowered, and transformed. Finally, I thought, it has taken too long for the sisterhood to get some respect and get the answers they deserve. Our current medical system, the one I was trained in, has given us little advice on how to take care of our bodies so that we don't end up sick and exhausted. I mean, I was a double board certified MD who spent years doing research and I didn't even have the answers for myself. We need more tools to help us live our lives to the fullest and healthiest. I am here to give them to you. Quiz: you might be wondering how strong your energy trifecta is. Here is a quick and easy self-check. Just answer the following 5 questions on a scale of 1 to 5. How good is your energy? 5 equals awesome. I can do whatever I want when I want. 1 equals I am so exhausted day and night. How often do you have trouble with constipation, gas, reflux, diarrhea? 5 equals I am as regular as they come. 1 equals I feel like I am constantly having issues. If you are still of childbearing age, how regular is your period? 5 equals I could set my watch to the day. 1 equals my period is so erratic I never know when to expect it. How often do you come down with a cold and other viruses? 5 equals I have yet to miss a day of work. 1 equals I feel like I am always battling something. How is your mood? 5 equals life is good. 1 equals I tear up at every commercial. Done. If your number is 20 or below as a premenopausal woman or below 15 as a man or postmenopausal woman, you need to work on this trifecta. Welcome, this book is for you. If your total is above 20, well, you may have some secrets to tell us. The ABCs of the WTF plan: the food you eat can have a transformative effect. Take your metabolism, for instance. The right diet can often help keep your metabolic hormones in balance. You know those people who can eat whatever they want and not gain a pound. And then there are some people who just look at a potato chip and gain 5 pounds. What gives? This is usually chalked up to the fact that everybody's metabolism is different, as if metabolism is something you can't really change. Your metabolism may be hard to change, but it is regulated by hormones, and what you are eating may be causing those hormones to go out of whack, which in turn F's with your metabolism, making you want to throw your scale out the bathroom window. The right foods can also mitigate the need for hormone supplements, what we docs call exogenous hormones. Even healthy women and men who follow a traditional healthy diet may experience fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, sleep issues. You name it. But usually their doctor will dismiss their concerns if lab tests come out negative. If they go to an alternative medicine center, they may be prescribed many supplements as well as exogenous hormones for their specific problem. But oftentimes, these same issues can be fixed with diet. Eating the right hormone-balancing foods that are rich in fiber, taking probiotics, and drinking healing teas can help realign this fragile system. Diet doesn't just help with hormones, it helps with gut health. We're only just beginning to discover how important the gut is to our health and wellness, and how essential a healthy gut is to a healthy immune system. A recent study showed that babies had certain bacteria in their gut that talked to the immune system, telling it to tolerate foods like eggs or blueberries, indicating for the first time how early this connection between the immune system and gut bacteria is made. 6. When the immune system is just forming, it starts to make decisions on what it considers good to pass along or foreign to reject, and this is when it develops food allergies. How food allergies are formed gives us a good insight on how the gut and immune system talk to each other in general, and just how early this connection is made. Further, it shows that our immune system and gut bacteria are in constant conversation all our lives, deciding which food to attack or which to tolerate among thousands of other decisions. It starts from inside the womb and continues for our entire lifetime. The communication system between the gut, immune system, and the brain is my jam. But this is only part of the story. I also found that when you eat is important to your overall health. Our bodies are made to run perfectly and work and rest right on time. We should take better advantage of our natural circadian rhythm, that internal clock that regulates the sleep-wake cycle and repeats roughly every 24 hours. to maximize our body's own resources. Eating according to the circadian rhythm will achieve better hormonal balance and promotes long-term health. Now, you may have heard a lot about intermittent fasting because, well, it seems like everyone, your trainer, your child's teacher, heck, even your dentist, is trying it. Intermittent fasting is when you eat all of your food for the day within a specific window of time, often a 10-hour window or an 8-hour window. Sometimes it means limiting your food to one meal a day. There are a lot of different variations, some better than others. My program, what I like to call circadian fasting, is different than a typical intermittent fasting diet because it works in sync with your body's natural clock. Since no one person is the same, and some schedules are more accommodating of circadian fasting than others, I will also provide creative solutions to work with your unique needs. Managing stress is also a key component to keeping our system working properly. Daily assaults of stress can affect every part of the body, and the body-mind connection cannot be overstated. Stress hinders our sleep. It makes us distracted. Everyone has stress, and some stress is good for our body. But excessive stress, which releases too much cortisol, will totally zap your energy. The WTF plan will help balance stress in a couple of different ways, from the foods you eat to a few exercises that will help alleviate stress by strengthening the mind-body connection that conventional medicine tends to overlook. How to use this book. If you picked up this book, odds are you have been asking yourself the same question. Why am I so effing tired? You may feel tired from the time you get out of bed and set your feet on the floor to when you put your head back down on your pillow. Maybe you feel so bloated that you don't dare try on that bathing suit, too hairy to find the eyeglasses that are sitting on top of your head, and so unfocused that you can't even read your favorite magazine. Are you ready for a reset that has been tested by not only me but thousands of other women, including Katie, whose sleep has improved so much that she is no longer counting sheep in her head, who can finally say they have won their fight with fatigue? In this book, I will provide groundbreaking information on how the energy trifecta works, what happens when it doesn't, and what to do about it. You may notice similar solutions for each prong of the energy trifecta: diet, circadian fasting, stress reduction, sleep. This shows just how interconnected the three systems are, and how essential it is to address each of them: hormones, gut, immune system. At the same time, I'll show the important interplay of the mind-body connection and lay out a sensible, easy-to-follow 2-week plan with the goal to align your gut health with your internal clock, which will in turn balance out your hormones and, most noticeably, make your energy skyrocket. I make the plan flexible so that you can follow it to a T or make it fit your own goals and schedule. I will also provide information on how to integrate the plan into a more long-term program that fits your lifestyle. The diet is predominantly plant-based, as well as gluten-free and dairy-free. But you can certainly add meat, wheat, and dairy if you can tolerate them. My rule of thumb: follow 90% of my plan, leaving about 10% wiggle room for your own tastes. The WTF plan has a 3-pronged approach: what you eat, up your fiber-rich, prebiotic vegetables with plant-based recipes. We'll focus on prebiotic vegetables, such as artichokes, leeks, garlic, and asparagus, and cruciferous vegetables, such as bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and cabbage. Eating 6-8 servings a day will have a tremendous positive impact on your hormonal levels. When you eat, by doing intermittent fasting in conjunction with our natural internal clocks, you'll revamp your energy, ease your stress, do simple exercises, get outside, turn off tech, and drink teas that ease anxiety. And sleep. Sleep is key to improving any type of previous hormonal blockage or imbalance. In a recent study published in the journal Sleep, people who only got 6 hours of sleep a night for 2 weeks started to function as poorly as those who stayed up 2 full nights without sleep. 7 Translation: getting 6 hours of sleep or less is nearly as bad as getting none at all. Sleep loss impacts your cognition, your immune system, your energy, and your gut health. It can even affect your DNA. Sleep loss leads to epigenetic changes that can result in faster aging and reduced longevity. So for the sake of your genes, your gut, and your brain, figure out a way to sleep 7 to 9 hours most nights. And ideally go to bed before 11 p.m. I know sleep doesn't come easy to most people, and 2 to 3 nights a week of reduced sleep may not be too harmful. But if you're someone who consistently gets less than 6 hours of sleep a night, consider it a New Year's resolution to get more sleep, no matter what time of year it is. Plus, to help you in the plan, you will need to consider the following. Exercise. Be mindful of the type of exercise you are doing. If you work a very stressful job and lead an equally stressful life, limit your stressful workouts to 3 times a week. And remember, walking 8,000, 12,000 steps is a really simple way to incorporate exercise into your everyday routine. Being easy on your body is best when trying to regulate any type of hormonal imbalance. Supplements. Although I discourage you from taking supplements that anyone promises will relieve you of any adrenal fatigue symptoms, do consider taking well-studied natural supplements that are beneficial for your overall health picture, such as vitamin D and omega-3 and possibly adaptogens like ashwagandha, amla berry, and rhodiola. I'll give you lots of guidance about what to take and how in chapters 7 and 8. By learning how to access this energy trifecta, you will certainly feel better, and you will see change quickly through advanced genome sequencing technology. We now know there are 100 trillion microbes in our body, the bulk of which lives in our gut, what's known as our microbiome. These microbes have their own DNA, which greatly surpasses all of our entire body's DNA. Sort of mind-blowing when you think about it. You are really just a vessel in which these microbes live. But existential thoughts aside, studies show that this crowded microbiome can change quickly, in as little as 3 days. 8. But while you can feel better and have more energy in such a short time, I want you to think of this as a lifestyle change rather than a quick fix. This isn't the kind of plan you do for 2 weeks and then you go back to your old ways. In fact, the biggest problem with many diets is that they aren't sustainable. You white-knuckle it through the 2-week or 30-day plan until you can't anymore. And when you inevitably go back to eating normally, the problems return. So you then white-knuckle it through 30 more days, and the cycle repeats. Don't get me wrong, many thousands of people have benefited from popular diet plans. It's just that I want you to have consistency in a plan that is easy to manage over the long run, over years, even decades. On the WTF plan, the magic happens after just 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you'll ignite the real, life-changing benefits, and you will truly feel energy come surging back. But I don't want you to stop there. My plan walks you through 12 weeks total, focusing on the crucial first 2 weeks. And I promise that the longer you do the plan, the more you will get out of it. Along the way, I provide tips, alternatives, and variations so that you can personalize this plan to your needs and maximize its benefits. Whether it's tailoring the gut rest to your time schedule or adjusting foods that you prefer, this plan is for you and designed to last for as long as you want. I don't want you to just have increased energy for 2 weeks. What's the point of that? What if you could have that energy for a year, 5 years, 10, the rest of your life? That sounds like a good plan to me. And a good plan always starts with due diligence. As a doctor, I know how important it is for my patients to consult with me before taking on any health plan. So remember to talk your own doctor before doing so. This book has my suggestions for a more energized life, not to be considered a substitution for medical advice, so check with your provider to make sure it's right for you and for any medical condition you may have. You want to get the thumbs up before proceeding. So my hope is that this book becomes a crucial resource in helping you on a lifelong journey to a revitalized and healthy body, with sustainable energy, better focus, less bloat, and improved command of your daily stresses, ready to not feel so effing tired anymore. Read on.